evening, everybody. This is Johnny Seville, and this is your executive summary for stock setups for Tuesday. Now, the week has started out. Of course, we set a new open range on Friday, big open range with a high of 2650.55 and a low of 2605.67. That's a 50-point range, which is 45-point range, which is quite significant. Allows for lots of movement. Now, the S&P 500 traded down today on Monday, but again, there's a lot of room for movement. The most concerning thing from a short perspective is that the high yield bonds have rolled over just as we suspected they might, going down sharply on Friday, and of course continued down today, holding that head and shoulder movement perfectly. So this is certainly going to be a very good time to start positioning and start looking for those great short positions. And in terms of, as you can see, the smart money dropping below zero and staying below zero over these last 2 days. So this really kind of indicates that we may be at the top of a market for a lot of these large cap stocks. So the focus going forward here is going to be looking for some of these really juicy shorts, and in terms of the long direction, looking for longs that have the insider buying and of course a bit of a story of their own behind them for counter trend trades. To do a quick review of some of the stocks, obviously some of those longs have been doing well. HABT obviously was up today in a quite a down market, up 5.38%. That one's looking good so far. Money flow continuing to go up. Jill, which I own, that's continued to push up as well. Again, money flow just breaking through zero today, so that's looking strong. And GST, which I also own, continuing to look good, holding above the 200-day moving average. Looks like it's flagging at the moment, and again, one of my longer-term plays that I really like. And CYCC, which I also own, which is one we texted out and sent out as an alert last week at 180, obviously has broken up quite nicely, closing at 215 today. That one looks like it could continue to have some really good movement. They've got I believe, some data coming out about one of their clinical tests, so we could expect some volatility and possibly aggressive moves on CYCC. Again, money flow looking really good on that. So those are all looking good across the board. In terms of the short direction, those have been excellent as well. GWRE, just continuing its downward move, breaking that short-term support of the moving averages today, and doing so on good volume. 1.38 million shares yesterday, 1.63 million shares today. So again, this looks like it's going to be able to continue to make more and more bearish ground, and certainly that's something we'll continue to review in Trading Room, but I certainly like that as a short. And as you can see on the weekly chart, I mean, it could easily get down to around $65 or lower. So GWRE looking really good on the short side. We've got HCN, which is looking really good on the short side. This one is, again, just holding its head and shoulders pattern really well, continually bouncing off of that resistance line here. So that's looking solid. VTR, which I've got, same pattern, same structure, same money flow, also looking really good to the short side. Data. Again, we're just wanting to see that breakdown maybe a little bit further, but that's looking good so far to the short side. All of these, of course, from the newsletter. CBM rolling over really nicely off of its resistance from that long-term rising wedge that it's rallied up and retested and is breaking down from here. CBM's looking excellent. Again, from a technical standpoint, rejected off of the resistance. That's looking really, really good. All of these still in the realm of being able to be shorted. These haven't broken down too far yet. And EA, of course, which was one we've talked about when it first broke down from resistance back in early November. We talked about it again here a few days ago if it broke the 200-day moving average. And today, as you can see, great down day, down 4.9% on 6.57 million shares. I think that can be something to be held longer. It's getting close to our target here, but I think this could, with the volume today, could actually power down significantly more. So Electronic Arts, again, we talked about the $100, I think, January puts. I mean, that's doing excellent so far as well. So to take a look at a couple of new setups. I am keeping my eye on Zio. Zio seems to be breaking down here. Could be possibly a longer term head and shoulder pattern here. So Zio, again, something that you could take a look at here as a short, looking at a stop criteria at 37.15. Um, Yeah, 37.15, and I'd be looking at a target down here of $30.15. So it's got some decent room for a first target, but again, if this is really as a head and shoulder potential, we could be looking at a further extension of that, which would bring us down to as much as $23. So in terms of a risk reward, we've got to probably tighten that up a little bit. So you may want to be looking at 34.67. So we've got $4.60 of opportunity. So a buck 50 would be about the right risk reward. So yeah, I'd be looking at maybe even just a little bit higher. Let's have a look. 460 reward. So if you look at basically $2 above that, that would put us over here at 36.67. So that would be a $2 risk for a 250 potential reward. So that's what I'd be looking at then. So a stop signal at 36.67 on Zio. On the long side, there's actually quite a lot of very interesting longs that I'm looking at. So in terms of the blockchain space, BLOC is looking quite interesting. As again, you can see that there's this pennant potentially building, which has come out of an original flag formation. So you can see that flag there, and then you've got the pennant building over here on the right-hand side. This is something I might take a speculative stab at tomorrow. And again, it needs to break the pennant, but it's right in this support area, kind of at the midpoint. And if this one were to break, again, you can see that the flag, we could be looking at a price point as much as $5.20. If we look at purely the pennant formation, we're looking at a possible target up to about 440. So that's what I'd be looking at for block. So looking at it, seeing how it performs in the morning, but looking at an entry around here, looking at a stop loss, for example, around 215, targets of 435 and 515. This also trades on the US exchange, which is BLKCF. BLKCF, which, as you can see, doesn't have quite the same chart because it's obviously you're dealing with currency change and so forth. So I'd be trading based off of the Canadian chart, but obviously if you're buying in the US, you'd be buying the US stock based on what the price is at in Canada, and using this as the metric. So this one I like. The other kind of speculative one, again, because I'm mostly looking for speculative longs that have their own story. KALY underscore CA in Incredible Charts has had a very decent move today. I'm going to keep my eye on this. It was a pennant breakout. As you can see, there was the pennant forming. It has reached its pennant target today, basically bang on. So I'll be watching this tomorrow. It's more of an aggressive trade, looking to see if we get a pullback to say somewhere around this 22-cent mark. If we do, or 22.5 cents, I'll look to buy some there. Or if it breaks the high here of 27 cents, I might look to get some there. And looking at this as a possible momentum play. Obviously, you want to have a target in mind. It's going to have some resistance at 32, but I mean this has got some decent volume behind it, and it could possibly trade up into the 40-cent mark or higher. So that's kind of where I'm looking for. So that's one, and that also trades on the US. KALTF is the US stock, as you can see. Same kind of setup. We got PSDV, which I'm taking a look at again, kind of these speculative smaller price stocks. Just seems to have had a good break of volume, 235,000 shares yesterday, 1.38 million today. I'm looking at again, these are all speculative plays. So a small amount of capital, but good risk, but great potential if it goes. So you really want to make sure you only risk what you're willing to lose on these things, because they can go the opposite way just as quickly. I'm looking at putting a stop in here about 119, but having a target of 193 and a second target of 223, and kind of buying the support here that it's pulled back to towards the end of the day. So there's PSDV, CPTA just seems to be rolling up at the moment. Nice little break of the 20-day moving average today. Volume hasn't quite come into this yet, but all these have all these US ones have insider buying on them, which is why I like them. CPTA has some good insider buying. PSDV has insider buying. So I'm looking at CPTA as as a possible entry here. Stop criteria, I'll be looking at 733, target one of 823, and a second target of 927, kind of trading up to these levels you can see here on the chart. Now these could go further, but at least it's good to have that stop in mind, target in mind. You can always move them up. CRMD, I was watching this on the bullet. This has been on my watch list for a long time. As you can see, it's broken out of this downward channel consolidation. Had some great volume there, 1.7 million, then pull back on 400,000, and then a rally today on 4.7 million. Now, again, I think these guys are expecting data to be released as well. I was reading in the bulletin boards that they may have had some unfavorable data overnight. That might just be fake news, though. So we'll see how that opens. But I may look to snag some of this as close to around the 60-cent mark as possible. And looking at a stop criteria of 47 cents. The target I have in mind short term is 93 cents, but again, this could be a push higher than that. And again, these kind of things can sometimes get some good momentum. To some of the more expensive stocks, Din Equity is looking good. Din Equity has been on our list many times and had a good break today. Lots of insider buying. So Din Equity, I'm looking at if it can possibly pull back to around close to the $50 mark, $50.03, for example. I'd be looking for any kind of a pullback as a possible entry point. And again, this has got a much larger market cap, and looking at a stop at $45.83 and a target up to this top of this downward channel that it was in, which would bring us up to about $68.73. The other one, again, to get into more of the less speculative stocks, so again, trying to give something for everybody. FRGI has a lot of insider buying and is looking good. I'd be looking for a break above $20.07, where the moving average is. Looking at a stop signal of $18.43 and a target of $27.24. And last but not least, BGFV. Again, this is kind of my master watch list of stocks that I found over these last few days. So some of them may trigger, some of them may not. I mean, really, it's just about trying to give you some ideas to see what might be suitable to the way you like to invest and take it for what it is. BGFV looks good here. I mean, it's going to have to break through the moving average, but it had some really good volume today. So gathering momentum, 1 million down yesterday, 1.67 million up today. Looks good. So I mean, if it, I'd be looking at a stop signal of 683 and a target of 893. So some great stuff. Now we'll be hosting our Smart Money scanning course this week, which we'll release details tomorrow of. So obviously, if you want to be learning the scans as to how we're going to be finding these shorts and finding these longs, we'll be doing our last course for the year coming up here. I believe it's on Thursday night. We'll be releasing data for that and invites for that tomorrow in Trading Room. So of course, excellent opportunity to capture these and learn how to scan for these yourself. But there's a bit of a spectrum of the ideas I'm looking at for tomorrow, and should be some great action. Have a wonderful night and happy trading.